There is a lot that you're able to do to manage your merchant accounts from the merchant details page. So if you go to list accounts and then find the merchant that you're looking for and click into them, this is what you're going to see. And so at the top, we have a lot of just general information about this merchant. So you have the merchant name up here, their general information, their ID number, their external identifier, that sort of thing. And then company contact, this is who the primary contact is. It's also the contact info for the primary user. So you want to make sure that those are consistent. If you make a change here, it's actually going to change their information as well. So make sure you're aware of that. Their billing information is here. You can see a masked account number and routing number. Their advanced merchant features are here if you need to enable any of those. And the status is shown here. Now, if you need to change any of these, that's super easy. You just hit edit on whatever section you need. Let's say we want to, instead of Modern Test, let's call them Acme Inc. Okay, and save the changes. And now you can see that's saved. You can, of course, do that for all the other sections. You can change their account type to maybe there's a personal checking account. You can enable their advanced merchant features. So there's quite a few here, but you can do that all from this section. And then their status. So this is an active account. If I want to change it to maybe restricted for some reason, I don't want them to be able to run any new transactions for a while, I can restrict them, hit save, and now they're restricted. If I ever want to close the account, I can close it. And in this case, they will no longer be billed. I should mention, if they're restricted, they will still get billed normal fees. They just can't run new transactions. If they're closed, they'll no longer be billed, but you'll still be able to access their account and run voids and refunds if any need to be happen. If I save, it's going to be closed, so they can't log in anymore. And if I delete the account, and I'm not going to do it here, but if you delete an account, it not only makes it so the merchant is no longer billed, they can't log in, it's also going to make it so this merchant is removed from your list of accounts. If you close an account, it still shows up on your list of accounts and you can access it, see the billing history and all that. But if you delete an account, then it's gone forever, and so is all their transaction history. So there's very rarely a case where a merchant account has been used and you actually delete it. You typically just want to close it. If you make an account accidentally, there's been no transaction history on it, then sure, you can delete it. But if there's any transaction history on there, any billing history, we typically recommend you leave it just closed if a merchant ends their service or has to go away for a little bit. Maybe they're a seasonal merchant. You can close their account while they're away, and then when they come back, just flip it back to active, and they'll be able to pick up right where they left off. All of their information will still be there, and they can still get into their account. One more thing in this top section that's really useful is under merchant users, we give you the ability to log in as the merchant. So if I click this button, it'll open a new tab and log me into that merchant account. And while I'm in here, I am the merchant. I can do everything that a merchant can do. I can run transactions, I can do reporting, I can change settings. So you want to make sure that when you're using this auto login function, that you're doing things that the merchant is going to be okay with, that the merchant is expecting to happen, so that you're not doing anything that's going to surprise them. So you can go ahead and use that. It's really good for troubleshooting. If you need to troubleshoot what a merchant is seeing, you can use that login button to kind of see what they're seeing, walk them through things, good for training, all that stuff. So that's a really convenient feature. And then if a merchant ever gets locked out of their account and they need you to reactivate to let them back in, you have this reset password link. And this is going to show on the primary user for the account, because the primary user doesn't have the ability to get themselves back in if they forget their password. So you can go ahead and reset the password. We're going to confirm it, just because if you do this, it's going to immediately invalidate that user's password, and it's going to send them an email to have them configure a new password. But it's going to immediately break their password. So if they're using that for API transactions, or if they're expecting that password to work for a little while longer, you want to make sure that you don't do this until they're actually ready to get that new password. If we go down a little bit, you can see processing services, and there's a lot here that we could get into. A lot of it is already covered in some other videos about like fee schedules and setting up a new merchant account. But under processing services, we have credit card, check, and cash processors. So any of these that the merchant has active or offered will show here. You can see they have 2 credit card processors active. Check is offered, but they haven't taken it up yet, and cash is active. So that's what this merchant has going on. If you ever want to add another credit card processor, electronic check processor, or cash processing, you just hit the add button up here and select the one you'd like. And that'll take you through the basic processor configuration that you would have gone through the first time you set up the merchant account. Additionally, you can edit the bank info. So if you click on this, we'll give you this modal that shows you additional address info, bank account info that we'll use to run billing for this one service, we can charge another bank account. So the bank account you have entered for their billing info is what we'll use by default. But if a specific service should be billed elsewhere, you can go ahead and do that like this. You can also edit the processor. So if I want to edit one of these processors, I can do that. I can edit its configuration. I can edit the duplicate velocity checking. I can edit the MID information. Basically, everything is editable. And then if I want to disable a processor, I can do that here. Let's say I'm going to disable this one. You can reroute refunds. So if the merchant is done using a processor, they are done using a MID, they'll still see the reporting in their account because they want to be able to still see that. But if they ever want to run a refund, it's going to be a problem because we don't have the MID anymore for that account. You're not going to be able to reach out to that processing platform. So the ability to reroute refunds makes it so that now, if this merchant has this disabled processor and they try to run a refund on a transaction that was originally used on it, that refund actually gets run through their active credit card processor that I've selected, and we communicate that to you right here. So that's this one right here. And so that'll run a credit on that other processor. In reporting, it'll look like a refund, everything will be great, but it'll actually run as a credit behind the scenes. Going down here to value-added services, it's basically the same story, just with our value-added services. These are things like automatic card updater, customer vault, enhanced data for level 3, invoicing, those sorts of things. And again, you can see these in very similar states as pending, active, or offered. Now, pending is the new one. Pending is a service that the merchant is set up for, but isn't fully configured yet. And that could mean that they haven't agreed to the terms of service yet. It could mean that it's something that NMI has to help with and is in the middle of setting up, so they haven't been able to get that set up entirely yet. So there's a couple reasons pending could happen. I just activated iSpy Fraud, and now that is moved up here as well as pending, and the next time the merchant logs into their account, they'll be able to activate that service. Alternatively, if you'd like, you can go to the top of the page and check this box to activate the service on behalf of the merchant. If you know that they're going to be okay with it and want the service, you can just do that so that they're approved right away and can use the service right away. And finally, on this page, we have fee schedules where you can decide whether the merchant can see the billing statement, which includes PDFs of all their invoices, in their control panel, as well as whether we email the merchant when their fees are billed. So I'm going to check both of these. These are both real-time updates. So as soon as you check it, it's saved. If you say, I actually don't want the emails to go out, you can uncheck it. And again, all of these are real-time. And then finally, you can see the fee schedule itself. This is the name of the fee schedule. So this one's called default, which isn't very creative, but is a good default fee schedule. And then you can see the cost for the merchant for all of these fees over here. This one has quite a few, and we're going to list everything that you've made either active or offered to the merchant. Everything will be here. This is really helpful when talking to the merchant. So for example, if you're talking to them and you want to talk to them about payer authentication as an offered service and they're wondering if they need it, you can kind of scroll down here and see, oh, payer authentication has a $10 monthly fee, 10 cent per transaction fee, and let the merchant know that while you're talking to them. So this page has a lot of information. You'll be spending a lot of time here, most likely, with a merchant when they call in for support, when you're helping them get set up, if you need to log in as them. There's a lot of functionality on this page that you'll be using as an affiliate.